Perfect. My name is Jan Torjeby, and thank you for inviting me to give some information about the Norwegian EV market. Just my background, I'm coming from the electrical side, educated in electric engineering. Some 11, 12 years ago, I started looking into charging infrastructure for electrical cars, and I've been working with that more and more, and full time since 2011. Mostly I've been a consultant, working for in the startup of CPOs, especially like Fortune Charge and Drive, Ionity, and so on. I also been educating electrical engineer, car sales people, and a lot of other people in especially charging infrastructure and also electric mobility and how to think, how to do it. At the moment, or now, I'm employed by the Norwegian Automotive Federation. That is a 100 years car organization here in Norway, and it's the biggest consumer organization in the Nordics with 500,000 members. And our members are like the number of electric cars on the roads, close to 20% that is driving electric cars. And then when I talk about electric cars, I mean pure electric cars, BEVs, not plug-in hybrids. And that is a very high number. 20% of the cars on the roads are fully electric, and we have a sales in Norway now around 80 to 85% fully electric cars of the new car sales. So I think that is quite a quick introduction, and then we can see if I can give some more when we go into the questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Jan Thora. And before we zoom into the session today, I would like to spell out some of the rules of this session. So this session is actually going to take 1 hour. I think we have spent 7 minutes already, and then you can ask questions at the end of this session. And anytime you also want to ask a question, just make sure you choose the hand feature or emoji over there. So I will let you speak. And then also make sure you mute yourself when you are not talking. Okay, so I am actually going to give you a brief about myself and then we zoom into the questions. So my name is David Dankwa, also known as Dave Dale, as many of you know, and I'm a marketing and sales professional. I work with a Norwegian company here in Norway, but we are expanding into Africa. We are building insurance marketplaces in Africa. So e-mobility is my passion. I actually love cars. So I started a platform called Drivafy. And then since I've been traveling around Africa, I have seen what Africans are also doing to accelerate or shift to e-mobility. I've had the opportunity to chat with many EV entrepreneurs and also enthusiasts. And the good thing is, my platform is actually promoting what they are doing in Africa and also educating the public on the reasons or the benefit to switch to e-mobility. So I live here in Norway at the moment, and then Norway too is a pace setter when it comes to this EV shift. So I think it is very important that I also connect with policymakers and EV entrepreneurs in Norway for Africans to also learn from them and then do it right and succeed in Africa. So that is why we have this session today. So Jan Thora is going to tell us how Norway started with this shift, because practically when I step out of my house every day, at least every 10 cars I see parked, I see about 6 or 7 of them being electric. So now we want to know how Norway started this.
It's quite an interesting history. I think it's divided into two. First of all, in Norway, we had some enthusiasts that really wanted to drive electric. And also we had this toll road around Oslo. And this was, and the excuse for putting up that toll road was that it was for the environment. And then these people say that, okay, if this is for the environment, then electrical cars should not pay there. This is back in the 90s, so it's close to 30 years ago. A part of some of these enthusiasts was the members of the pop group Aha. Maybe you know it is the only really famous Norwegian pop group in the history. And what I was doing was just passing the toll road, not paying. And then the police was coming, taking their car, and they bought it back again. And then I keep on like this. And they did get some politicians with them, and they did open then the toll road for electrical cars. So that was the beginning. And then also we had from history, we do not have a car industry in Norway. Our neighbors in Sweden have it, and we've always been jealous about them having Volvo and Saab. So we started producing electrical cars, very small cars, and to support this industry, hopefully we can have a car industry in Norway. Then we also get some benefits. So the benefits was first free toll road, then we had free access to the bus line. And we have very high car taxes in Norway, so they took away the car taxes for electric cars when we was importing them also. And also the VAT. That means that it was very beneficial to have electrical car. This was in the early 2000s. So we have a lot of incentives, making it quite cheap to have and own and buy electrical cars. But of course there was more or less no cars on the market, just small cars and, that we did produce ourselves or maybe importing from India. Then suddenly in 2011 we did get the Nissan Leaf on the market, we did get the Mitsubishi IMU, and then the BMW i3 and the Volkswagen e-up and so on, and cars was coming. But then we had some momentum and some politicians said we keep our benefits, even though it was not maybe that was the plan, just to have down our CO2 emissions. Because both from EU and from other deals when it comes to the climate, we need to take down our CO2 emissions. But as we have close to 98% hydropower in Norway, we cannot do it from the energy market. Of course, we can do it from the oil, but that is outside of the CO2 negotiations. That is not counted as Norway's emissions. So then, to keep the emissions down, the CO2 emissions, and to get them down, we have to take it from the transport sector. And electrical car was our only possibility. So we just keep on having these good incentives, and the market share of electric car did go up and up. It was becoming 1%, then 2 and 5 and 10, and everyone was very happy. And then it was come 20, 30, 50. We was very, very happy, and now it's up to 80. I think it was 82 so far this year. And this is pure electric car. So that is that is the brief history of electrification of Norway.
Thank you, Jan Thury. That is actually amazing. And there is this myth around electric cars that electric cars produce twice as much greenhouse emissions than fossil-powered cars. I mean, we want to know whether this is true. Because we meet people, I meet people who talk about they are not willing to go in for electric cars because the electric cars also emit or produce greenhouse gas emissions. So they'll rather stay with their ICE cars. So if you can throw more light on this, we'll be happy.
Yeah, I can. I do not have the exact numbers, but you have to take this from a life cycle perspective. And first of all, if you look only on the production of the car, yes, the CO2 emissions is higher, but not twice as high. And also this is depending on which number you choose to use. Of course, when we go back 10 years, 15 years, to produce battery had much higher CO2 emissions than today. And also, but still, to produce a car, electric car gives more CO2 emissions than an ICE car, internal combustion car. But then we also had to look into the emissions during the life of the car. And then, as we do not burn fossil fuel, of course, then the CO2 emissions goes radically down. Like in Norway, we have more or less only renewable energy from our hydro power plants. So it's just maybe 20,000 kilometers. Then the electrical car is equal when it comes to CO2 emissions. And 20,000, that is every year or two of driving. If you have to get your electric energy from coal or something, then it will take more years. But still, if you're looking into the newest CO2 life cycle, what do you call it? Life cycle reports and so on. Then the CO2 emissions from electric car made or driven on all electric energy from coal plants is even lower after maybe 80,000 kilometers, 100,000 kilometers.
Okay, thank you. I think very soon I will allow my guests to also ask some few questions. But with my observation in Africa for some time now, I realize many of these EV entrepreneurs or electric mobility entrepreneurs are actually going in for more of the two-wheelers in Africa. And then there's one thing I also noticed that, Africa or developing countries are more of second-hand car buyers. You realize that they depend on the decisions of new car buyers. So um, there, every year there are so many import of used cars. So now we've been thinking how best can Africa probably hold on or stop the purchase of these second-hand ICE cars and go in for these electric cars. I mean, I do talk to people, and many talk about the cost of the cars. I mean, they say electric cars are expensive. At where you stand or where you sit, okay, how do you think that Africans can fully go into these EVs? Because now, for instance, here in Norway, the prices of ICE cars are becoming cheaper because people are transitioning to EVs, and you realize that people are also exporting them into Africa. So, what do you think the government and others or the people can do or would have to do to embrace this e-mobility fully?
Yeah, I understand, and that is a cost issue that is quite tricky because when you have been driving electric car for not so long, you realize that for daily use, the electric car is much easier to have. It's cheap, it's better to drive, and it's much more convenient as you can charge it at home. You do not have to go to the petrol station and so on. So everyone in Norway, more or less now, or wants electrical car. And we can see that also throughout Europe and also partly in the United States. That means that the demand for electric cars, both the new one and the second hand, is very high here, and that drives the price up. That is a problem for you. But also, you was very early talking about two wheels and lighter electrical car. I think that is really, if you see behind me, then that is one of the reasons why we do not have so many two wheels in Norway. We have the winter. So if we buy a two wheeler, we can just use it for half the year. We cannot use it throughout the winter. both because it's too cold, you will freeze to death on a two-wheeler, and also it's because the roads are very slippery. But how you easily can get hold on the car, I think your government has to try to get some relationship with, like the Norwegian government, and try to get them for some kind of support to get electrical cars. Because what I think is very important is to start using them. If the numbers of cars is not that high, then you can start develop the infrastructure, understand what is needed for your demand on car, and get the ball rolling. I think that is very important for you. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Jan Thore. So you just mentioned about freezing temperature in Norway. So recently, I just stepped out to a charging station to ask about using an EV when the temperature is very low. So I had some good feedback. Some mentioned that it loses range. I actually had someone who told me that his car loses range of about 50%. So it makes me feel that when you live in Norway, you wouldn't be able to use an EV to its maximum capacity.
I think we can use it quite well in Norway. Depends on when you talk about 50% of range. If you start and stop it and start and stop it and do not charge it, yes, on the coldest days, if you have to heat it up every time, maybe you can lose up to 50%. But like I do, I always connect my car when I come home, take the electricity and charge it. So I do not, the range is not an issue for me as I charge my car. I don't go to the petrol station to fill it up once or twice a week. I just connect it when I get home. And I think also for Africa, I think it's two very important things that you have to think about. But of course, this is a cost issue on it. But in the long run, you will earn money on it. First of all, you have, quite sure, quite more sun than we have in Norway.
Yeah.
And with that sun, if you can have solar energy, and then you can store it directly to your cars, is a very important thing. And then you do not have to be reliant on countries like Norway earning a lot of money on production of oil production. So I think if you can see it and get support and financing both to get the cars and the solar energy production, in the long run, you will earn quite a lot of going on that transition to electrical cars. And also we will be much more independent of the world economic and the politics around fossil.
Okay, thank you. So I think if you have any question, you can ask a question now. I think Fred has a question. Okay, Fred, go ahead. You are muted. You are muted, Fred.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Dave and Jian. I hope I'm pronouncing it well. It's called Jan. Yeah. So I'm actually a businessman in Kenya, and my main concern is my main target customer is government, military, police, and the like. So I'll ask a couple of questions along those lines because that is my specialty. So I think you need maybe a pen and a paper because there are 6 questions. If that's okay, or if you can remember them. So the first thing,
you should help me later on.
Okay, no problem. So the first thing, you mentioned how there was a transition and a jump in the use of cars in electric cars in Norway. I want to know more specifically. How did your government come in? Were there special incentives? Were there, how do I put it? On one hand, supporting electric vehicles, and actually demonizing the use of ICE vehicles because they go hand in hand. What did the government specifically do to encourage the use of electric vehicles? Because that did not come out very clearly. The second question.
I think I can answer your questions one by one. Maybe it's easier.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. I think you talk also about demonizing the traditional cars. We did that for a long time in Norway, for decades back, because we have very high taxes on cars traditionally. Maybe we have 100% tax on the car. So if the car costs $10,000, then we add $10,000 in tax. So that was the demonizing. That was not a part of the electric mobility politics, but that was the background. Then we take away all the tax on electrical car, and we even take away the VAT. And so it is not a cost or a support, but it's a lack of income from the government. Then we did open the bus lines. That was not a problem. Then you have when you have few electrical cars. We did open the toll roads, so we didn't have to pay for the toll roads, and so on. That was the benefit that the government did give us. So they did not support or subsidize the electrical car, but they didn't take in income from the electrical cars. Was that a clear answer to your question?
Yeah, it's okay. I just want to know the incentives that the government give, because I think you do need the government to come in for some of these new technologies. So I just want that to be clarified. So number two, my second question was on there's the electric vehicles themselves, and there's the charging solutions, because they go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. Was the charge, because that is what I see in Africa may have some bottlenecks. Was the charging solutions a problem? You mentioned about you being able to charge your vehicle at home, which is good enough, but I'm thinking that there are some plants who need to charge them in huge numbers, or there are some people who would need to charge them during the day when they are parked in the parking lot. Was this an issue? And how did Norway go about it? Was there people were selling cars on one side, and other companies who are also aggressive selling charging solutions? And then, as you answer that, also tell me for the vehicles, do you just use a normal socket in the house to charge for most vehicles, and would you do the same for, let's say, a bus or something like that?
Yeah. First of all, when it comes to the charging infrastructure, you are right. You need to have public charging infrastructure. Even though a lot of people can charge at home, you need to have public charging infrastructure. And the start of that is then you need the support from the government or for the official part of the country. Because you need some charging infrastructure to sell the first cars. And when you have sold the first cars, then you can build up more charging infrastructure. And then the business case for charging is developing as you have more and more cars. So it's very important for the government to support the first part of the charging infrastructure. Then when it comes to charging at home, in Norway, a lot of people are owning their own house, don't rent or don't live in apartments. And then it's easier to install good charging solutions at home. Of course, you can use your socket outlet, but for the safety reason and for get some better charging speed, most of the people now are installing charging stations. That is called Mode 3 charging stations. not just using their ordinary socket. That is also very much to do with safety. That is a very important part of my job at the moment, is working with standardization and also security for charging at home, especially.
Okay. Just to clarify, yes, you can use normal sockets in the house, but you have better solutions. That's the same way you have normal chargers and fast chargers. Okay, so that I think that answers the question.
Yeah, and fast charging is something different, because then you talk about DC charging. That is, then you charge with, let's say, from 50 kilowatts and up. And that is also for buses and heavier vehicles, as I was talking about. For home charging, maybe the charging speed is twice of what you get on a socket, but not more than that. And this is still AC charging. But that is going very deep into the technical part of it.
It's okay. I think you've answered my question. So just to make sure that you've clarified, as long as I have my normal socket and we can, let's say, like in Kenya, a lot of buildings are apartments, which shouldn't be a problem because anyway you can extend electric sockets to the parking. That shouldn't be a problem. And also, apart from the normal sockets, you can also have some specialized charging solutions for heavy vehicles. So that answers it, because it would have been quite difficult for Africa if the charging solutions of themselves as special as electric cars are from internal combustion engine cars. So that protects the investments. So the third question is...
Okay, Fred, for the sake of time, I will let other guests also ask questions. And later, if there is more time, I'll let you come in again. So I see Kenneth raise his hand. Kenneth, you can ask your question now.
All right, thank you, Devdil, for the webinar and inviting us. Am I audible enough?
Yeah,
it is fine. Yeah.
All right, good.
Perfect.
Good. And thank you also, Yantora, for your presentation. I have a company called Chic and Drive, Kenya. We empower women in matters to do with cars. There's a very heavy bias against women and cars. Generally in Africa, people say that women are bad drivers, they can't drive, they don't know anything about cars. So we're trying to address that discrimination. Anyway, on to my question. I'm sure electric vehicles usually also have their own unique faults or need for maintenance and servicing. Now, because of your long history with EVs, I'm sure you have specialists who are well trained to service and maintain these cars. And I see that being a challenge for us Africans. When we start importing EVs in large numbers, we don't have the technical expertise to maintain, to service those cars. There's a gap. So I see a need for training personnel here so that they can know how to go about fixing all the technical issues that come with charging, servicing, maintenance, and so on. So is there a platform for transfer of skills from a place like Norway to Africa?
First to answer about the need for skills. Yes, you need to change your skills from a fossil car to an electric car. We have done that for the last 10 years in Norway for ordinary mechanics, training themselves. And you need also often some special equipment and safety regarding working, especially with the battery, because you have a high voltage, 400 volts or 800 volts inside of the car. When it comes to training and a platform to move the information or the knowledge, I do not know about it, but I think that is very good thing. Maybe David can talk with Norwegian, and I can help him and see what we can do to help you. So and also I really liked your initiative with working with women and driving. That is good. My wife is from Eritrea, so I do know a bit about Africa, and I think that they are no better drivers than us men. They just need to have some more confidence maybe sometimes, and we have maybe to have some less confidence, we men. So very good work. So yeah, I think that is a very this training is a very good way to cooperate and to transfer skills. Very interesting. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so thank you, Kenneth and Jan, for this contribution. Evans, you can ask your question now.
Okay, thank you very much, Dave and John, for organizing this webinar. Okay, my name is Evans. I'm from Kenya, and I work with a company called Rome Electrics. Rome Electrics deals with electric buses, and also we do conversions of internal combustion engine vehicles like land cruisers to electric vehicles, and also do production of electric motorbikes. So it is my privilege today to also hear from what Norwegian government is doing on the other end, and it is interesting to learn that about 20% of your vehicles in the streets are electric. That's really good and encouraging. So on our end, I just have a few questions. I'll just ask them quickly, around 3 of them, and then maybe you'll answer them. The first question is with regards to what my other friend asked about charging infrastructure. So I would just love to know if, because I assume that we have several companies who are doing, who are manufacturing electric vehicles. So have you standardized your charging infrastructure, or is it a question of each and every company has its own charging infrastructure? That's the first question. And then the second question, can EV models purely replace the conventional combustion engine vehicles? And if yes, how reliable are these electric vehicles? The reason I'm asking so, we saw a startup company here in Kenya. They started importing electric vehicles, and along the way they were not able to become sustainable, and they closed. So is it reliable? And then now the last question is, do we have sufficient lithium to ensure stable battery production? Those are my questions for now. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for the questions. First of all, when this comes to charging infrastructure, in Europe, it is standardized. It is the Type 2 connector for AC charging, and it's the CCS connector for DC charging. So that is standardized, and I think it's very important to standardize it, because when you use like the Type 2 connector and not use traditional contacts or inlets to the cars, but use the Type 2 or the Type 1 that they have in the United States. But the Type 2 is better because then you also can have 3-phase. So when you have a higher power. The good thing with that is you can use them with a special charging cable also on ordinary outlets. But then you can also put up charging stations. The good thing with charging station is that they can regulate the charging speed of the car. So if you have a lot of cars connected to the same charging system, then you can control the current. So if you have access to much current, you can charge faster. When you have limitations in the power, then you can put down the current. If you have a few cars, you can charge them faster than you have several cars. That is all the time regulated. like up to the sun production, the wind production, or whatever. And that way, with going for that type of solution from the beginning, you can incorporate the electrical cars into your energy system. And that is what is very important, because the energy system as a producer and the electrical cars as consumers, you can use the car for regulating your energy system. So we can use it for frequency balancing even, when it's come down to the really details. So it's very important to standardize it, and to standardize it right. And I think if you see throughout the world, is the Type 2 connector and the CCS system that is the best one, because that is what is supported by most. We can look to China, of course, they are a very, very big market, but then you have the Chinese control of everything. And in Europe, we have Chinese electrical car, but they have the European system. It's the same in Australia and Southern America. The second question was about reliability, and the electrical cars is working better than traditional cars. They have less faults and less maintenance. So I think the electrical car, because of its fewer moving parts and so on, is better and more reliable than fossil car. The problem is, of course, when you're traveling long distances, the range is shorter, and if you miss charging opportunities, then you have a problem. So that is of course a problem. And you have the really expensive part, that is the battery. And if you have a fault on the battery, then you have problems, because you have a very expensive part. But it's more or less like the engine in a modern fossil car is also, if the engine breaks, then you also are kind of in a big mess. So and lithium, the battery supply chain is not my specialty, but no, we are working very hard both on securing and getting enough lithium and so on, and other components for the batteries, and also people working with the supply chain for the automotive industry also look into new kind of technologies for the batteries. So this is a thing that is really in development. We have seen for the last decade that China has taken control of a lot of the supply chain for electrical car. And now we see Europe and North America, United States, are really trying to secure their supply chains, and to get all the lithium and cobalt and so on, that is to make this transition safe. Yeah.
Okay.
But I can not give you the exact numbers for the lithium. I think Mr. Google can give you as good answers as me.
Well, sure. Actually, thank you for answering those questions. I'm impressed now.
Okay, so we lost Evans, so I'm going to let Geoffrey from Uganda in. Geoffrey, can you go ahead and ask your question?
Hi guys, thank you Jan for the great answers. My name is Geoffrey. I run a startup in Uganda that's building electric bicycles, and of course my question is around the two-wheeler market. Electric bicycles are very popular in Europe. What policies and what factors do you think have led to massive adoption of electric bicycles? And are there any, I would say, approaches you think that Norway took that will probably enable Africa or African countries increase adoption of electric bicycles, and what are also the merits and demerits of electric bicycles? Because I know nothing is 100% good or 100% bad. So what are some of the challenges that you've seen with electric bicycle adoption?
Yes, let's see. Electrical bicycles, we haven't done that much in Norway, even though we sell it quite a lot. I think that has to do with we have quite high life standard in Norway. So a lot of people can't afford it. And in our cities, it's not that easy to drive around with cars. So a bicycle can be much more convenient to go around in cities with. And to have the help of electric energy in addition to your feet when you're cycling in the city, then you can have a higher load. You can take your children with you when you go to the kindergarten and so on. So I think that is the reason. So I think in the cities in Norway, even though it's quite hard in the winter time, we have the city of Oslo have been doing quite a lot to have secure the cycle lines, made it easier to cycle around the cities. So we have taken away some of the street for cars and opening up for cycles, making cycle lines in the street also, so it's easier to go around and safer to go around. Because of course when you have your kids and everything on the bike, you want to be quite safe. You don't want it to be too scary. So I think that is the reasons for why we have a lot of electric bikes here in Norway. I even have two myself. That is more because it's convenient for us than that we have get some support. Yeah. I hope that answer your question.
Yes, that did answer my question. Did you see any subsidies playing a role in that?
No, the city of Oslo have had some few subsidies, but that is close to nothing. So I think we are more lucky that we have the money in Norway. That has been the most important part.
Okay, Jan, thank you for this. And we have Ibrahim from Kenya also. He also wants to ask a question.
Yeah.
Hi, Ibrahim, are you there? Okay, I think he's not ready. So I have a question. Okay, Otto Afrik. Otto Afrik, you can go ahead with your question. You are muted.
Please, am I audible now?
That's good.
Good morning to everybody. And really excited for this all-important conversation that being set up for this discussion. And I think so far, with the various experiences that Jan has said are really interesting. And my consideration is that it's about time Africa will also have to make it possible to take that bold step to make electric vehicles one of the most outlays and priorities, because we have all the resources here. We have all the resources here. Everybody comes to electricity. What I believe is that we have excessive sun in Africa. When you consider the amount of sun that comes out every day, I think that even not let's say focusing much on the hydroelectric energy, we can be able to rely on this renewable energy to be able to produce more electricity for electric vehicles. So I think that it's about time policymakers in Africa will have to make an intentional effort, a very considerable effort to make sure that to making sure that in as much as we want to grow Africa's automotive industry, certain things, certain drastic steps we have to take place. Just as the Europeans are doing, like looking at the fact that Norway has been able to do it, Africa, we can also do it. And collectively, we need to be able to channel our energy to that aspect. When we consider the fact that fuel prices are going up day in, day out, we don't have control over the fuel price, and there's no way we can have control over the fuel prices. But we can have control over our source of energy in terms of being able to produce our own electricity to power electric vehicles. So my submission wouldn't be a question, but I want to commend David and then Jan for this conversation. But as Africans, and then of course, we can also share interesting views as to how we can be able to make sure that we can be able to have a very robust electric vehicle industry here in Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Otto Afrik, for your submission. I think Ibrahim is here. If he's not ready, I'll just ask a question because we don't have so much time now. Ibrahim, are you ready?
I don't hear you.
We can't hear you. Okay, I think he has a problem with the microphone. So, Janthura, so since you are an expert in EV charging and battery technology, okay, so there has been some debate about how these EV batteries are disposed of after they have run out of power. So, people say it's usually deposited or dumped at landfill sites, which also cause environmental problems. Since you are an expert in this, we want to know how this is being handled at the moment and for the future.
Yeah, that is. I was kind of laughing when you were saying this disposal. The most valuable part of an electric car is the battery. Both when it's new and have a lot of capacity for charging, but even the minerals and what is inside of the battery after its lifetime is over. So it was earlier talking about lithium. Do we have enough lithium? It's very, very important to put the battery back into to recirculation and take out all these very valuable minerals and metals and use them to make new batteries again. So the people, if they're throwing a used EV battery for landfill, then they are stupid because that is just like wasting money or putting money into landfill. So the EV batteries has to be a part of a value chain and coming back into car production again. So this is just a myth. And what we also see is that the battery is working much longer than the car normally. So we talk about second life of batteries, but what we also are discussing, I was on a battery seminar last week in Sweden, and how can we utilize the battery even when it's inside of the car, when the car is parked, and then we're back to charging infrastructure, use it together with renewable energy sources to balance the grid and so on. So no, batteries will never be deposited. Just stupid people will deposit the battery in landfill. They will reuse them. First for energy use and then for material recyclation.
Okay, thank you very much. And my last question will be the increasing number of electric cars in the system now is going to also increase the load on the power grid. How do we manage this?
Yeah, it's the same good charging infrastructure, not using the socket, but using some kind of charging station that can help you use the car to balance the grid. So, and the car do not use that much energy. Of course, here in Norway, we do also use quite a lot of energy to make petrol and diesel. And in fact, and fossil car use half of the electrical energy as an electric car just to make the fuel. So it's not the biggest problem, especially not for smaller cars. When it comes to buses and trucks and so on, maybe we can see an impact on the grid. But then we have to, in parallel, build out more electric energy production and use the car, the fleets that is coming, to balance out the production. So we have to have the production of cars and implementation of electric cars together with good charging infrastructure that can help you balance the grid and renewable energy together. You have to see this as a whole. Then I don't see any bottlenecks there.
Okay, thank you very much. Ibrahim wasn't able to speak, but he just posted the question over here. So his question is: can batteries be having a dynamo to recharge while driving?
Yeah, we do. So instead of when you brake, use your brakes on a traditional car, that is becoming heat. But when I brake my electric Volvo, then the energy is coming back into the battery again. So you harvest your braking energy and most of it back to the battery when you're driving. So every electrical car, modern electric car, have that functionality. And that is one of the things that makes driving electric very convenient. You just take your foot off the acceleration pedal, and the car is braking much more heavily than a combustion car. So you use most of the time just one foot when you're driving, and the energy is coming back to the battery.
Okay, thank you. And okay, he has another question. What is the lifespan of a new battery?
Oh, that is quite hard. For a traditional use of a personal car, the car is worn out before the battery. I think that is my best answer to that.
Okay.
And I also want just to give you, you have a lot of good questions. Maybe I cannot help everyone. But if you see over my head, you see Joby. That is my Twitter and LinkedIn and Instagram account. So if you want to follow what I'm doing, you can do it there.
Can you please type it in the message box?
I can put it in a message box so we can use it. So this is, let's see now. Here we are.
Okay, good. So I think we basically have 3 minutes more to end this session. And I just want to assure the guests over here, once again, thank you for attending. And then it's not going to end here. We are going to organize, or I'll be organizing many of these sessions so we get to learn and also see how best we can accelerate the shift to e-mobility in Africa. And then, Kenneth, I remember you also mentioned about a platform whereby there could be an exchange of skills and others, where Jan Thore also mentioned if we could work closely. So I think I'll follow up on that and see how best we can find a solution for this. I think it's very important, though. So, Jan Thora, I would like to thank you for this opportunity, enlightening us about the battery charging station, battery technology, and then how Norway was also able to accelerate the shift to e-mobility. We are very much pleased with this information and insight. So we are looking forward to another meeting in the future. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And thank you for letting me be here.
Okay, good. So I am actually going to share this video. I recorded it, so it will be shared on my social media platforms, Drivafy, on YouTube, so we can have this 1 hour video on YouTube. If you want to refer to something again, you can just go back to the YouTube to watch it. Thank you, everyone, for attending this session. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.